Hey everybody, it's Brock and we got a brand new episode of All About. Water Parameters 101 is back, and today we're tackling one of the most talked about parameters in the hobby, nitrates. Whether you just set up your first tank and you're seeing your nitrates climb for the first time, or you've been reefing for years and your nitrates are sitting at zero and you're wondering why your corals look pale and washed out, we're covering both ends of that spectrum today, so let's dive right into it. First question is, what are nitrates? To answer that, we have to start with something called the nitrogen cycle, because nitrates don't just appear out of nowhere. They are the end product of a chain reaction that's happening in your tank every single day. It starts with waste, fish waste, uneaten food, decaying matter. All that breaks down into ammonia. Ammonia is extremely toxic, even in small amounts. From there, beneficial bacteria in your tank, specifically Nitrosomonas bacteria, convert that ammonia into nitrite, also toxic. Then a second group of bacteria, Nitrobacter, converts that nitrite into nitrate. And nitrate is where the chain stops, at least for most standard aquarium setups. So nitrate is the final byproduct of your biological filter doing its job. The whole time your tank has fish in it and you're feeding it, your system is going to be producing nitrate. It is a constant, unavoidable part of just having a saltwater tank. The question isn't whether you'll have nitrate, it's how much and whether that amount is appropriate for what you're keeping. Nitrate is measured in parts per million, or ppm. You also see it written as NO3, which is just its chemical form. One nitrogen atom bonded to 3 oxygen atoms. When people say my nitrates, they mean the concentration of this compound dissolved in their water column. The next question to ask yourself is, what should my nitrates be at? For a long time, the conventional wisdom in the reef hobby was 0 nitrate, 0 phosphate. You got a perfect tank. However, the hobby has evolved significantly on this topic over the last decade. I look at nitrate as a nutrient. Your corals and that symbiotic algae living inside them, the zooanthellae, actually need a measurable amount of that nitrate to survive. A tank with truly undetectable nitrate is a tank that is starving its corals. The modern approach is low nitrates, but still detectable. So what does it look like in practice? It's going to depend entirely on what you're keeping, what kind of tank you have. Is it fish? Is it corals? Let's see. If you're running a fish only with live rock setup, you've got the most flexibility. Nitrates below 20 parts per million are generally considered acceptable. Your fish can tolerate levels up to 40 without immediate visible distress, though staying lower is always better for long-term fish health. The lower you can keep it, the better, but don't stress over hitting a reef level target in a fish-only tank. Soft corals and large polyp stony corals like your torches, hammers, brains, frog spawns are more sensitive than fish, but more forgiving than your SPS. For these tanks, a range of 5 to 10 parts per million is ideal. Some hobbyists run LPS tanks a little higher, even up to 20 parts per million, and see great results. Their corals grow, the colors look really good, but below 1 part per million, you'll start seeing these corals lose color, retract, and struggle. SPS Reef tanks, that's your small polyp stony corals like Acropora, Monthopora, are the most demanding. These corals come from some of the most nutrient poor waters on the reef, so they prefer low nitrate levels. A lot of experienced SPS keepers target somewhere between 1 and 5 parts per million. You'll often see the most vibrant pastel colors in SPS corals at a low but still detectable levels. The science actually shows that the effect of nitrate on SPS growth is not as dramatic as the hobby once believed. Stability matters far more than chasing a specific number. A tank that holds 5 parts per million rock solid is gonna outperform a tank that bounces between 0 and 15 parts per million every week, every single time. So why does tracking nitrates matter so much? The first scenario we'll tackle is nitrates being too high. When nitrates climb, a few bad things start happening. First, algae loves nitrate. Nitrate is a fertilizer, and if levels get out of control, you're gonna see an explosion of nuanced algae. Hair algae, bubble algae, cyano, all feeding on those elevated nutrients. Second, elevated nitrates can also fuel dinoflaggates, a really difficult pest algae that shows up in tanks with unbalanced nutrients. Third, for corals, high nitrate overstimulates the growth of zooanthellae inside the coral tissue. That sounds like a good thing, but too much zooanthellae actually competes with the coral itself for resources and can slow coral growth. Fourth is the fish immune system gets suppressed over time in chronically high nitrate environments, making them more susceptible to diseases. Your fish might look fine at 40 or 50 for a while, but long term is working against them. Ick outbreaks, velvet, bacterial infections, you name it. And a lot of times it doesn't spike on them, right? It just slowly creeps up over time, which makes you think everything's okay. But once it hits that level that is too high for a long enough time, you're gonna see issues. Now, second scenario is your nitrates are too low. So on the flip side, Experienced reefers deal with more than beginners would expect. When nitrates drop to 0 or near 0, your corals starve. The zooxanthellae inside the coral tissue don't have the nitrogen they need to photosynthesize efficiently. The corals lose their color, they pale out, you'll see them look bleached even though the water temperature is fine. Polyp extensions drop, growth slows to a crawl, and perhaps most importantly, a nutrient-starved tank becomes a breeding ground for dinoflagellate, brown, slimy pest algae that actually thrives in ultra-low nutrient conditions and can be just a nightmare to deal with. So, how do I test my nitrates? You've got several options here. The API test kit is the most common one you'll find at the fish stores. It's cheap, accessible, gets you in the ballpark. The downside is it can be hard to read the color accurately, especially in the lower ranges of 1 to 5 parts per million where reef hobbyists are trying to dial in. It's fine for a fish-only tank where you just need to know if you're under 20 parts per million, and less ideal for a reef when you're trying to know if you're in a more specific lower range. It's the one I currently have on hand, very simple to use. Most come with the test tubes to fill the water up to a certain line. You add your drops in the right order, you shake it up, let it stand, and you see what color you end up being. It's great for beginners, and it's relatively cheap too. A step up from API is the Saltwater test kit. It's more precise color gradation, easier to read in the lower range, and widely trusted in the hobby. It's going to be a little bit more expensive, but you get that more accurate reading. Then you got the Hanna brand. The Hanna Nitrate Checker is a photometric test, so it uses light to measure color intensity digitally rather than relying on your eyes. That removes the guessing of manual color matching entirely and gives you a precise numerical reading. More expensive up front, but worth it if you're running SPS and you need to know if you're at 2 or 6 parts per million. You can also find brands like Red Sea, Neos, and Seacham all making kits. They're all solid kits to get. Bulk Reef Supply actually did a side-by-side comparison of several brands: Red Sea, Hanna, Neos, Saltwater, API, Seacham, and the takeaway was that Hanna and Saltwater gave the most consistent and reliable results in a reef-relevant lower range. So, how often should you test? For a new tank that's cycling or recently cycled, test every few days. You want to track that nitrogen cycle in real time. For an established reef tank, once a week, solid baseline. If you're dialing in a specific target or troubleshooting an issue, bump it up to every couple of days until things stabilize. For me personally, I tend to do it before I do a water change just to see where I'm at. So that happens a couple times a month regularly, and then more often if I'm dealing with an issue. Now, what controls my nitrates day to day? So your nitrate level is essentially a balance between how much is being produced and how much is being removed. Understanding both sides of that equation is how you really take control and keep it stable. So what produces nitrate? Fish waste, the number one driver. Every fish in your tank is constantly excreting ammonia, which your biological filter eventually converts into nitrate. The more fish, the bigger the fish, the more you feed, the more nitrate is going to be produced. Uneaten food that breaks down into your tank also contributes heavily. Overfeeding is one of the most common reasons hobbyists struggle with elevated nitrates. So what removes the nitrate? Water changes are the most direct and reliable method. Every time you pull out old water and replace it with fresh salt water, you're diluting and physically removing the nitrate in the water. That is the foundation of nitrate control in any tank. Live rock in the denitrification process, in the tiny oxygen depleted pores of live rock and deep sand beds, anaerobic bacteria called denitrifying bacteria convert nitrate back into harmless nitrogen gas that escapes from the water. This process is how nature handles nitrate on a reef. In our tanks, it happens naturally in the live rock too. Though the dry rock most hobbyists use today is less porous than wild live rock and does less of that heavy lifting for you. A refugium with macroalgae, chaeto being the most popular, one of the easiest ones to work with. It's growing algae in a separate chamber that absorbs that nitrate and phosphate as it grows. You harvest the algae periodically, and with it you physically remove those nutrients from the system. It's elegant, natural, and very effective when sized correctly for your tank. A protein skimmer removes organic material before it even breaks down into nitrate in the first place. So it's not removing nitrate directly, but it's intercepting the chain reaction early. Carbon dosing from commercial products like Red Sea's Nopox works by feeding carbon to bacteria in your tank. Those bacteria multiply rapidly, consume the nitrate as it grows, and resulting bacterial blooms get skimmed out by your protein skimmer. It is effective, but it requires dialing it in carefully. Too much carbon and you can crash your nitrate and phosphate to zero, which we know is not a good thing. So what happens when things go wrong? First scenario is nitrates being too high. First thing is don't panic and do a massive water change all at once. The same rule for salinity episode applies here. Slow and steady. Dramatic swing in water chemistry stresses your livestock, even if the direction is in the right one. If your nitrates are at 50 parts per million and you want to get it to 10, Do a series of regular water changes over a couple weeks rather than one giant dump. 25% water changes done consistently will steadily drive nitrates down. Really look at that parts per million measurement too. It's telling you have 50 parts per million in your entire tank. So even if you were to do a 50% water change, very dangerous, do not recommend, that would only get you to 25 parts per million. Look at your feeding habits too. A lot of times elevated nitrates trace back to overfeeding. Check how much is going in and whether there's uneaten food settling on the sand bed or in the rock work. Check your bioload. Maybe there's too many fish in here. Are you stocked beyond what your filtration can handle? And check your mechanical filtration. Filter socks, filter rollers, the filter pad, anything you got back there, are they being cleaned and changed regularly? Old filter media sitting in the sump is a nitrate factory. Warning signs in your animals too. Nuance algae explosions, dull or stressed looking fish, corals closing up, losing color over time, fish becoming more susceptible to disease. These are all signals your tank is sending you. Your eyes are some of the best tools you can use. Now for the other scenario of nitrates being too low. For the viewer that inspired this topic, and honestly for a lot of experienced reefers with efficient systems, here's some things I've personally tried out when nitrates are at or near zero. The simplest move is you can feed more. More fish food means more waste, which means more nitrates eventually. The key is to do this gradually. Don't just dump twice as much food in overnight. Feed just a little bit more each day or more times during the day. And then also test every couple of days to see where things are moving. If you want to raise nitrates specifically without also spiking phosphate, nori can be your best friend. Dry seaweed sheets have a favorable nitrate to phosphate ratio compared to most frozen foods, and it's something your fish are going to love anyways, especially if you got some algae eaters in there. Adding more fish, if your tank has the room, is one of the most natural long-term solutions. More fish means a bigger biological load. More ammonia eventually leads to more nitrates. So it has an added bonus of just making your tank more interesting too, right? More fish in the tank looks great. One point worth making from the SPS community on Reef to Reef is that ammonia excreted directly through the fish's gills may actually be more beneficial to SPS corals than dissolved nitrate in the water column. So for SPS keepers especially, more fish genuinely is a better long-term answer than dosing. If you're running a refugium, try dialing back the lighting schedule on your Chaeto or temporarily turning it off so it's not exporting nutrients as aggressively. This is often the simplest first move before you try anything else if you have one. Another common equipment is your protein skimmer. If you could run it less, you could see a difference there too. Also think about our filter media. We just said if it's too high, take those out and replace them. On the flip side, if it's too low, leave them in longer. I've also read about people using things like food grade potassium nitrate to dose it. I've never done it before, so I'm not going to try and teach you about it. You can definitely check out some forums and see what other reefers did. Those kind of DIY projects for me are always like a last resort or just avoid it altogether. If you're carbon dosing with chemicals, reduce or pause that dosing. Carbon dosing is one of the fastest ways to strip a tank of nitrate, so pulling that back gives the nitrate room to build back up. The most targeted approach I've recently seen is dosing sodium nitrate directly. Products like Neo Nitro from Brightwell Aquatics are made specifically for this. Tropic Marine has Plus MP. Aquaforce, I believe, makes a similar product as well. The key with any dosing approach is to go slow and test regularly. You're not trying to spike it. You're trying to just nudge it up to the target range and hold it there. Warning signs your nitrates are too low is pale and washed out corals, poor polyp extension, slow or stopped growth, and then those dinoflagellate outbreaks. That brown slimy algae that shows up in the ultra clean tanks. If your tank looks sterile and your corals look bleached, but your water temperature is fine, fish look good, zero nitrates is one of the first things I'd check. Nitrates in our ocean. So we have the documentary series, so we always want to look at what nitrates actually looks like in the wild. So natural coral reef environments are some of the most nutrient poor waters on the entire planet, which that surprised me when reading about it. You picture a coral reef and you think it's incredibly rich, colorful, thriving ecosystem, and you'd assume that water must be loaded with nutrients to support all that life. But it's actually the opposite. Open ocean nitrate levels on a healthy tropical reef is somewhere between 0.1 and 1 parts per million. It's remarkably low. And that's exactly why this old zero nitrate thinking made sense on paper. The ocean is very low in nitrates. What the hobby missed for a long time, that even though those ultra low levels, nitrate is still detectable. It's not zero, it's just very, very small. So coral reefs around the world are dealing with a problem that actually ties directly back to everything we just talked about in the video. As ocean temperatures are rising from climate change, the relationship between corals and the algae living inside them starts to break down. That's the same relationship we talked about in the salinity episode too. And when that relationship breaks down because of heat stress and coral bleaching, it can no longer feed itself. And if conditions don't improve, it eventually dies. But there's also another angle here that directly connects it to nitrate. In areas near the coastlines where agricultural runoff carries fertilizer into the ocean, nitrate levels in the water skyrocket, way beyond what a natural reef ever sees. And the research has shown that those elevated nitrate levels from pollution actually makes the corals more vulnerable to warming. They're already stressed from the heat, and now they're being over-fertilized on top of it. It's a compounding problem. The flip side is also true. In some reef zones, the same warming is disrupting how efficiently corals can absorb nitrate in the first place. So the nutrient is there, but the coral can't even use it properly because the temperature's off. Sound familiar? It's the same stability principle we keep coming back to in this hobby. The animals we keep are designed for very specific, very stable environments. Throw off any one variable and the whole system can feel it. So when you're sitting there, dialing in your nitrates, trying to hold that 5 parts per million, doing your weekly tests, doing your water changes, you're actually practicing something that has real stakes out in the real ocean too. So understanding what the environment's supposed to look like and what threatens it makes you a better hobbyist and honestly just a better advocate for the animals we all love. Before we hit the conclusion, let's rapid fire some tips from the years in the hobby and just kind of overview of what we just learned. So the ratio of nitrates to phosphate matters as much as the individual numbers. Your nitrates and phosphates should stay roughly proportional. If nitrates is very high and your phosphates very low, that imbalance alone can cause problems for your corals. Keep an eye on both of them. Dilution is the solution to pollution. It's an old saying, but still true. Consistent water changes are the most reliable long-term nitrate management strategy that exists. There's no substitute for pulling old water out and replacing it with clean water. Your test kit accuracy matters more than you think. In the lower range where reef hobbyists are working under 10 parts per million, there's a meaningful difference between an API kit and a HANA checker. Invest in the right tool for the level of precision that your tank needs. Overfeeding is the #1 cause of elevated nitrates in home aquariums. Feed what your fish can consume in 2 or 3 minutes. Remove anything that doesn't get eaten via a solid cleanup crew, and build good habits early. Stability beats perfection. A tank that holds 8 parts per million every week is a better reef than a tank that swings from 2 parts per million to 25 parts per million. Stop chasing a specific number and just start building a consistent, stable system. New tanks will always spike nitrates during and after cycling. That is totally normal and expected. Don't panic when you see it. It means your biological filter is working. And the one that changed the way I think about this whole parameter is a pale coral in an otherwise clean, well-run tank almost always means nutrients are too low, not too high. If everything looks right but your corals look washed out, test those nitrates. And that's Water Parameters 101 with nitrates. Coming up in this series, we got nitrites, calcium, alkalinity, magnesium, and more. Drop in the comments which one you want to tackle next. And if you've dealt with nitrates going too low or too high in your tank and you found something that worked, share it in the comments. You might be exactly the answer somebody else needs. Thank y'all so much for watching. Y'all be safe, be kind, and I'll see y'all later.